I have a question to start off, and that's, does anybody else here feel like the pace of life can sometimes just feel absolutely crazy? Like every day, it's day to day, it's item to item, it's task to task. Some of you extroverts probably feel like that's fine, but I have heard of extroverts recently also becoming tired of all of the things that they have to do, which I think is a pretty bad sign. And so when I was asked to do this 5 for 5, God put this specific question on my mind, which is, what does it mean to rest? And Pastor Katie talked about this as well last week. And so we talk about this idea of rest a lot. We know that we need it. We think we know what it is. But do we really know what it means to rest? Do we know how to rest? And so I can't speak for everyone in the room, but I struggle with just this constant tiredness. A lot of days, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, man, I'm tired. Shouldn't I feel rested? Wouldn't I just sleep? And most days, it just feels like this weight, this tiredness. And it's not just because I have sleep apnea, because that does impact me. But that's not the only reason. That's not the only reason. And I know probably some of us in this room feel the same way. A weird thing about this too is that, we get off work and we go home, we make dinner, or we watch Netflix, or we do a hobby or whatever it is. And sometimes we'll even end the day feeling a little bit unfulfilled, a little bit tired still. We think we've done something that's going to fulfill us, that's going to restore us, but then we wake up the next morning and we kind of just feel the same. I'm sure I'm not the only person in this room that's felt that before. Most often we think of rest as relaxation and hobbies and sleep, which is partially true, but for the biblical definition of rest, we look to Jesus. Mark 1:35 says this, "Now in the morning, having risen a long while before daylight, he went out and departed to a solitary place, and there he prayed." Talking about Jesus. The biblical model of rest isn't relaxation, it's solitary communion with God. And it seems simple, right? Just go off on your own, find a quiet space, pray. Easy. We can all do that. But it's actually really difficult. I think we've all experienced how difficult it can be to enter into a time of solitude and prayer. Our lives are filled with distractions to the point that when we're finally free from all those things, or when we remove the distractions, our minds are sometimes even still racing. And so I find this practice of solitude and prayer and rest really difficult in my own life. The idea of slowing down, not doing anything other than praying and reading scripture. It's so hard because I'm used to the constant dopamine and just all of the things that keep my attention. After a day of feeling stressed and overwhelmed, I often go to things like hobbies and Netflix and whatever it is for rest, but they're a counterfeit that can never actually replace the restoration that our souls need to find in Jesus. The very concept of even being alone is sometimes foreign in our culture. We think of being alone as a negative thing. We equate it with loneliness, which is actually not the same idea. And so what does it actually look like for us to spend time in rest, to rest in Jesus? Recently, I've been trying to remind myself each day to find times in the morning, in the evening, and times throughout the day to just pray, to talk to God, to remind myself, God, you're there, you're with me, you're actually doing life with me. I struggle a lot with feeling overwhelmed or anxious in life, and I find that one of the biggest ways that I can overcome this is through Jesus, me just having that solitary communion with Jesus. And it's a difficult thing to start to practice because it might not even feel like restful. Like the idea of rest or relaxation for you is probably not, laying on your bed and then just praying. Like it might even feel like it's a bit of a forced thing. But the practice of solitude with God is a transforming work. I've begun practicing this more in my life recently, and I feel like I'm starting to be able to truly rest when I'm feeling tired. For the past few weeks in particular, since I felt to speak on this, I've been practicing it more, and I feel like I have more energy, I feel more free, I feel less anxious, It's positively impacted my relationships and my marriage. I don't feel the same sense of overwhelm anymore. The more time I spend in solitude and silence with God, the more I come to understand Psalm 23:6. Similar to the psalmist, I can confidently echo the words knowing that he is the great shepherd, guide, and host. So all of this to say, find rest in Jesus. He is our true source of rest.
Good job.